So today I'm talking about a Hyundai with the P0140 code, what it is and how you go about fixing it. So what is a P0140 code? Well, it's an O2 sensor circuit no activity detected bank 1 sensor 2. And what does this mean? Well, the onboard computer uses sensors located on the exhaust to know how much oxygen's been burnt off during combustion, and it uses this information to adjust the air fuel ratio mixture, and it's seen a problem with one of these sensors, so it's going to have to be troubleshooted to know why. And bank 1 is always the side of the engine with the number 1 cylinder, so if you have a 4-cylinder it wouldn't matter, but if you have a V6 engine, then you want to find the number 1 cylinder, and that'll be the side of the engine having the problem, and the second sensor going down on the exhaust on that side is the one having the issue. And possible causes of this, well, it could be a bad O2 sensor, it could be in the wiring like an open or a short, and possibly a blown fuse. And so the first thing to do when you get this code is to go find the bank 1 sensor 2 oxygen sensor. And there can be some differences. It's really going to vary on the year and the engine type of the Hyundai and things like this. And so it's always a good idea to go get one of these diagrams that show you where they're all at. So for example, this is a 2003 Santa Fe. And as you can see, bank 1 sensor 2 would be located right here, which would be before the catalytic converter. And the basics of what's going on with these sensors is that you're going to have sensor 1 is going to be before the catalytic converter. It's called the upstream. And sensor 2 is going to be located after the catalytic converter. It's going to be called the downstream sensor. And these sensors do two things. They monitor the oxygen that's been burnt off during combustion, and then the computer uses this to adjust the air fuel ratio. And they also have heater elements inside there that monitor the catalytic converter, since when the catalytic converter heats up, it's a sign that it's failing. So they're monitoring this also, so they're doing two things. But the sensor 2 that needs to be located is going to be called the downstream oxygen sensor. And so the next thing to do after you locate the bank 1 sensor 2 oxygen sensor is to check out the wiring real good, be sure there's no opens, cuts, that the connections are all good, and basically just keep in mind that if there's anything wrong with the wiring or any bad connection, is going to cause the same symptoms as a bad sensor. Also keep in mind it's going to be on a fuse. Hyundais are usually labeled sensor 1. There'll be a fuse box inside of the engine compartment when you pop the hood, and then inside of there'll be a fuse labeled sensor 1, and if it blows then it can cause problems. So that's something to keep in mind. So if you check that all out, if the wiring all looks good, there's no blowing fuses or anything like that, then very likely the sensor has just gone bad and just needs to be replaced. You can test it if you want to. There's some good YouTube videos on how you go about testing the O2 sensor if you wanted to, but very likely it does need to be replaced. One thing to keep in mind when you go to replace these is that sometimes they require a special tool to get around that wire and to get them back in. Sensor 2 often doesn't need that tool since it's not recessed into the exhaust, but sometimes they can be recessed in where they need that special tool. So that is something to keep in mind, or basically just go and look at it and be sure you got the tools to get it out, because you do need to get it back in and get around that wire when you go to put it back in. And sometimes it requires that special tool. And so that's basically it. I just want to do a real quick video on how you go about fixing a Hyundai with the P0140 code. If you have anything to add, please comment down below. If you have any questions, ask me and I'll try to answer them. If this video helps you, please click like, please click subscribe, and have a good day.